So if I'm somebody who's struggling with this principle of unwavering courage, I feel stuck. I'm not actually moving. I'm somebody who's not taking the kind of action that you're recommending. What can I do in my mind, or what kind of what activity can I do to get unstuck and to keep that action going?
Well, first of all, I think that where we have a tendency and where the emotion begins to kick in, Clay, is when we see ourselves trying to do something really big out here, but we interpret ourselves, or we perceive ourselves as being really small. And so all of a sudden, between here and here is a whole lot of emotion, is a whole lot of freak out, is a whole lot of fear that I tap into, because I'm trying to do something out here, but I perceive myself as being here. All those negative tapes that can begin to play in our head and everything. You're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not going to be able to do that. And so I think, first of all, what we've got to be able to do, for me personally, and what I work with a ton of folks in coaching, in helping them get to that place where of the success that they're wanting, is we've got to get your brain there. We've got to get the way you perceive yourself, your self-value out there first. And once you get your self-value out there, then things become very natural, things become very smooth.
So you have to believe that you're capable of achieving big things.
Exactly. And again, that's kind of where I was, again, trapped in that wage cage, thinking, okay, yeah, I was really good as a teacher, but even if I'm really good as a teacher, this is all I'm worth. Even though I was awesome. And I was awesome as a teacher, and I was awesome as a coach, but I was just worth that. And someone right down the hall could be like not a good teacher at all, but they were making the same amount of money. And so it was really easy for me to devalue my worth.
Now, moving on to principle number 2. Principle number 2 here, the 11 attributes of leadership, is self-control. Napoleon Hill writes, "The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate." Napoleon Hill. What he's saying is, it sounds like, again, he's saying that a man who can't control himself isn't going to be able to lead anybody else. Now, when you jumped into that world of self-employment, you no longer had a schedule from the principal or from the boss or the superintendent.
Exactly.
How did you deal with that?
I'm freaking out. Again, I tell you, it was really something. Because again, as a teacher, you sit in the class and kids, like cattle, come into your class. You don't have to go out and find the work comes to you. But then all of a sudden, as an entrepreneur, you and I both know, whoa, I've got to go out and generate things. But I never learned that before, Clay, and it had never been modeled to me by my parents or by the people that I was around. And so all of a sudden, it's like, oh, freak out mode. I'm going to have to start doing this on my own. And so one of the things that the word that you're using here is self-control. I use the same concept. I use the word discipline. And my idea with discipline is, I loved, when I was a kid, I loved to push the boundaries, you know? If the boundary was here, and I make it small, not because it is small, but it always felt small, I wanted to do more, and so I would just push them a little bit. And again, I was a good-looking kid, and I had all the suave, I could talk, I could kind of work the people, and so they'd let me get away with it. But eventually, that wasn't good enough, and I'd push out the boundaries more and more and more and more.
Here's the thing, I see a lot of 40-year-old men,
Is there a problem here, Clay, that we need to talk
about?
No. Okay,
I see a lot of... I hang out with a lot of 40-year-old men. Now, I see a lot of 40-year-old men. I see a lot of 40-year-old women.
The why.
There you go. Yeah. I see a lot of people from all different backgrounds who, they get to the 40s, it's kind of their midlife point, and they're stuck.
Oh, yeah.
And they have no discipline, as you said.
Yeah.
Or they have no self-control. And I know you're a fun guy, but you also are a guy who gets things done now. What's a step I can take if I need to become more self-controlled? Is it just going out and getting a day timer, or is it making to-do lists? What's been your secret to kind of help you? We all struggle with it at some point.
Yeah.
And all of us struggle with it even today. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have success. I know staying in that balance is hard, but what's something I can do as an action step to become more self-controlled if I struggle with that?
I think for me personally, I had to have some tool that brought accountability into my life. Because once again, Clay, that was something that I had always resisted. It was something that I had always pushed away. And anytime a person or something tried to hold me accountable, I would just get angry and blow up. Once again, manipulate the situation using emotion.
Yeah.
Because I would push those boundaries without discipline, and all of a sudden I would create a new reality. And then when someone said, hey, you got to come back here, I go, no, I can't do it. It was hilarious. First time I flunked a class in college. Flunked a class. Guess what the class was, Clay? We're going to wait until you guess it. No, I'm joking.
Humanities.
Very, very close. It was basketball. I flunked basketball. I was an all-state basketball player in high school, and I flunked basketball in college. And the reason was because I never went. And when it came to the end of the class, I was just saying, yeah, well, tell me how many free throws you need me to make, how many layups, and I'll do it. And she wouldn't let me do it. And Clay, I couldn't manipulate her. I couldn't manipulate her. She was the first person in my life that I found was a stone that I couldn't move. And I just remember blowing up and going crazy. She was the first one that brought accountability in my life, and I hate her ever since.